Is it possible that in the era of modern diplomacy, when countries compete to build their image through foreign policy, military technology, and economic power, a single name from the global entertainment stage is able to accomplish what state speeches and high-level meetings have failed to achieve, making the world not merely recognize South Korea, but actually feel it? This question may sound exaggerated, almost provocative, and for some perhaps even inappropriate. Yet that is precisely where the surprise lies, because official data from the South Korean government itself has unexpectedly directed the world's attention to a figure long regarded as just a K-pop idol, Jungkook. There was no grand press conference when this recognition emerged. No political declaration or diplomatic ceremony. What existed was merely a survey report, published in academic language and filled with cold statistical figures. Yet behind those rows of percentages lay a major shift in how the world views South Korea. The 2025 Korea National Image Survey released by the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism, MCST, recorded one fact that is difficult to ignore. Jungkook ranked first as the individual singer with the greatest positive impact on South Korea's national image. Not the president, not a minister, nor a national athlete, but a singer whose name is known through music, stages, and the screens of millions of phones around the world. For some readers, this may sound like excessive praise of pop culture. But for those who examine the report in its entirety, the results raise more questions than answers. Why Jungkook? Why now? And most unsettling for the traditional nation-state narrative. How is it possible that an individual from the entertainment industry can elevate a country's name more powerfully than formal figures long positioned as national representatives? Conducted throughout October 2025, the survey involved 13,000 respondents from 26 countries, a scope broad enough to reflect global perceptions. The results showed that South Korea's positive image worldwide reached 82.3%, the highest level since the survey began in 2018. An increase of 3.3 percentage points from the previous year may sound technical, but in the world of international surveys, such a jump is considered significant. More intriguingly, when respondents were asked to identify the main factors driving this positive image, nearly half, 45.2%, cited Korean cultural content such as K-pop, dramas, and films as the primary reason. At this point, the narrative begins to shift from mere statistics to a social phenomenon. Korean pop culture, which over the past 2 decades has grown from a regional entertainment product into a global force, is now officially recognized as a central pillar of the national image. Yet this recognition does not stop at collective entities like K-pop or Hallyu in general. When the survey moved to the category of Korean figures most influential on the country's image, BTS emerged as the most frequently mentioned name, surpassing figures from sports, film, and politics. Following BTS were Sun Heung-min, Blackpink, Lee Min-ho, and then Jungkook of BTS in 5th place overall. At a glance, 5th place may seem unremarkable, but behind this classification lies a crucial detail that changes the entire narrative. When the category is narrowed to individual singers, Jungkook rises to the very top. This means that in the context of individuals, not groups, not institutions, Jungkook is regarded as the figure with the greatest impact on South Korea's national image, surpassing figures from sports, acting, and politics. This fact is not only surprising but also intellectually unsettling. What is the world truly looking for from a country in the 21st century? The answer to that question may not be found in parliamentary buildings or international forums, but in more personal and emotional spaces. Music, as demonstrated by Jungkook, is not merely a form of entertainment but also a medium of identification. It transcends language, ideology, and geopolitics. His songs are listened to in teenagers' bedrooms in the Philippines, in cars across the Middle East, in cafes throughout Europe, and in public spaces in Latin America. Every note, lyric, and performance carries with it a fragment of South Korea's image, not as a distant, abstract nation, but as an experience that feels close and human. This influence becomes even more evident when examining the regional distribution of the survey results. Countries with the most positive views of South Korea come from regions that have not always been central to Korea's traditional diplomacy. The United Arab Emirates recorded a positive perception rate of 94.8%, followed by Egypt at 94%, the Philippines at 91.4%, Turkey at 90.2%, India at 89%, and South Africa at 88.8%. In Southeast Asia, Thailand showed a significant jump of 9.4 points to 86.2%, while in Europe, the United Kingdom became the only country to surpass the global average with 87.4%. These numbers do not stand alone. Behind them lies a strong pattern of cultural consumption, especially among the under-20 generation, a group identified by the survey as being the most influenced by Korean cultural content. For this generation, Jungkook is not merely a singer. He represents a lifestyle, values of hard work, humility, and emotions that feel authentic. In a world increasingly skeptical of symbols of formal power, figures like Jungkook offer something far rarer: a sense of connection. Yet this narrative is not without contrast. In China and Japan, two countries with complex historical and political relationships with South Korea, positive perception levels remain relatively lower, at 62.8% and 42.2% respectively, although both show improvement. This fact only strengthens the argument that national image is no longer shaped solely by intergovernmental relations, but by cross-border flows of culture and emotion that often move beyond the control of the state itself. What makes the Jungkook phenomenon even more paradoxical is his current personal context. Since 2023, he has been serving mandatory military duty, an obligation that technically removes him from public activity for more than a year and a half. In the old logic of the entertainment industry, such a prolonged absence would usually mean a decline in popularity. Yet the data tells a different story. The 2025 Overseas Hallyu survey placed Jungkook 6th overall as the most popular singer and 3rd as a soloist, based on responses from 26,400 consumers of Korean cultural content. Popularity that endures, even when the figure is not actively performing, serves as evidence that Jungkook's influence has moved beyond promotional cycles and media algorithms. Public reaction to these findings has been equally striking. In Indonesia, one of the largest K-pop fan bases in the world, news of the South Korean government's recognition of Jungkook was met with extraordinary enthusiasm. A post from the fan account at Dailyj Praise on Platform X sharing the news garnered thousands of interactions in a short time. For fans, this was not merely a victory for their idol, but validation that what they had long felt, that Jungkook has a real impact beyond music, was finally acknowledged officially. Yet beneath that euphoria lies a larger and more serious question. What does all of this mean for the concept of national image itself? When a state ministry acknowledges that an individual singer has a greater impact than political or sports figures, we are witnessing a paradigm shift. South Korea, consciously or not, is recognizing that its greatest strength in the eyes of the world lies not only in policy or technology, but in its ability to produce cultural figures capable of building global emotional connections. This is where Jungkook's story ceases to be merely about an idol and becomes a mirror of our time. The world, it seems, no longer listens only to what a country says. The world chooses who makes them feel connected. And for now, according to official data, that global emotion has found its voice in one name. Jungkook. If for decades a country's strength has been measured through rigid indicators, gross domestic product, military power, regional political influence, then what is happening to South Korea through the figure of Jungkook marks a shift that is far more subtle yet also radical. The world is no longer asking only which country is the strongest, but which country is most felt. It is here that the concept of soft power, long discussed in academic and policy spaces, finds its most tangible, most emotional, and most unexpected form. Soft power is not a new idea. What has changed is the way it operates. In the past, soft power was often associated with political values, education systems, or official cultural institutions. Today, data from the 2025 Korea National Image Survey shows that this soft power moves through far more personal channels. When 45.2% of respondents explicitly cite cultural content such as K-pop, dramas, and films as the main reason for South Korea's positive image, this is not merely a matter of entertainment preference. It is a collective emotional statement about what makes a country feel close, relevant, and worthy of admiration. Jungkook stands at the very center of this current. He is not a symbol of the state in any formal sense. He does not speak on behalf of policy, does not carry a diplomatic agenda, and has never been appointed as an official national envoy. Precisely because of this, his influence feels stronger. The world sees him not as a forced representation, but as an authentic individual. In every performance, interview, and musical work, Jungkook presents a human side that rarely appears in state-to-state communication. Vulnerability, hard work, discipline, and humility become the implicit narrative accompanying South Korea's image. This is where traditional diplomacy often falls behind. States are accustomed to speaking in the language of interests and strategy, while global audiences, especially younger generations, speak in the language of emotion and identification. The survey clearly shows that those under the age of 20 are the group most influenced by Korean cultural content. For them, Jungkook is not merely a foreign artist. He is a figure who has grown alongside them through phone screens, social media, and streaming platforms. When they think of South Korea, what comes to mind is not an abstract image of economic policy or geopolitics, but a face, a voice, and stories that feel familiar. In-depth interviews conducted as part of the survey with around 70 active Korea observers, international students, foreign correspondents, and overseas residents, add an important layer to this narrative. They describe a dual perception of South Korea, on one hand as an innovative country with advanced technology, earning a high score of 80.3 points, on the other as a society that still needs to improve social inclusivity, with lower scores in attention to vulnerable groups and acceptance of cultural diversity. This contrast reveals something compelling. The world admires South Korea's progress, but emotional closeness often comes from cultural figures who are able to bridge that distance. In this context, Jungkook functions as a symbolic bridge. He does not erase criticism of South Korea, but he softens it. He creates a space of empathy in which a country's shortcomings can be viewed through a human lens, rather than merely as statistics or stereotypes. This is a form of soft power that states often fail to recognize until its impact becomes measurable in surveys like this one. Regional comparisons in the survey results further clarify how soft power works beyond formal diplomatic channels. The high levels of positive perception in countries such as the United Arab Emirates, Egypt, the Philippines, and Turkey show that Korean cultural influence penetrates regions with vastly different cultural, religious, and political backgrounds. This is not the result of bilateral agreements or aggressive state campaigns, but of repeated and voluntary cultural consumption. Jungkook's music is listened to not out of obligation, but because of emotional resonance. Conversely, the lower figures in China and Japan, despite showing improvement, serve as a reminder that soft power is not entirely free from historical and political context. Yet even there, the rise in positive perception indicates that cultural flows can open gaps within complex relationships. This does not mean culture replaces politics, but that it creates a new layer of interaction that is more subtle and more enduring. What makes the Jungkook phenomenon even more significant is its resilience to time and absence. Since beginning mandatory military service in 2023, he has been largely absent from intensive public activity. Yet the 2025 Overseas Hallyu survey shows that he remains ranked 6th as the most popular singer overall and 3rd as a soloist. In an entertainment world that moves quickly and often forgets absent figures, this position is an anomaly. It demonstrates that Jungkook's influence has moved beyond promotional momentum and has become part of the global collective memory. For the state, this is an uncomfortable yet valuable lesson. National image can no longer be fully controlled through official communication strategies. It is shaped in more fluid spaces, among fandoms, algorithms, and emotions. The Ministry of Culture, Sports, and Tourism, with its plans to strengthen the promotion of Korean culture following these survey results, appears to recognize this shift. Yet the question is no longer whether culture matters, but whether the state is prepared to accept that its strongest face in the eyes of the world may come from individuals who grow outside formal power structures. This is where the title "The World Chooses Jungkook" finds its deepest meaning. The world was not given a choice through campaigns or hard diplomacy. That choice emerged organically, through cultural consumption and emotional connection. And that choice, at least according to official data from the South Korean government, has fallen on one name capable of representing far more than music. As other countries continue to debate how to improve their image in the eyes of the world, South Korea, consciously or not, is witnessing how a single individual can accomplish that task far more effectively. The question now is no longer why Jungkook is influential, but what this kind of influence means for the future of the concepts of statehood, identity, and diplomacy in an increasingly emotional global era. What the 2025 Korea National Image Survey reveals is not merely individual popularity, but a shift in how the world builds a sense of closeness. Jungkook is not perceived as a tool of the state, and precisely for that reason, he is trusted. He appears without explicit political messages, without nationalist slogans, without an official narrative. Yet it is in this very detachment that the world finds a representation of South Korea that feels honest, safe, and human. In an era of global fatigue toward propaganda and power rhetoric, figures like Jungkook become a calming antithesis. For South Korea, this is a double-edged sword. On one hand, Jungkook's success demonstrates the effectiveness of long-term investment in culture. On the other, it also exposes the limits of the state's ability to control the direction of its national image. When an idol who is currently serving mandatory military duty is still able to maintain global influence, it means that Korea's image has shifted hands from the realm of policy into the realm of the world's public emotions. This phenomenon also signals something about the future of diplomacy. Countries that fail to understand the language of culture and feeling will increasingly fall behind. The world no longer listens only to who holds the most power, but to who it trusts the most. Jungkook indirectly has become living proof that global trust is not built through authority, but through consistency, sincerity, and emotional closeness. Thus, when the title declares the world chooses Jungkook, it is not an exaggerated metaphor. It is a conclusion drawn from data, emotion, and the shifting spirit of the times. The world chooses not because it is asked to, but because it feels connected. And in that choice, South Korea finds a form of recognition that may be the hardest for any country to achieve. Recognition born from the heart, not from power. That I end this new era. One thing becomes increasingly clear. A country's name can be spoken in speeches, but its meaning is often brought to life by a single human being. And for now, for millions of people across different parts of the world, the meaning of South Korea finds its voice in one name: Jungkook.